There you have it, some new faces and new names and lots of hope for the Denver Broncos. The new ownership team walking in to Dove Valley at training camp this morning, and we're about to meet every single one of them.
Yeah, they're going to be holding their first press conference in just a minute. There you see Dave Logan popping out, a live picture. But let's quickly check in with Rod Mackey and Mike Kliss to preview what we're about to hear.
Tom, thank you. That's right. Yesterday, we heard from three of the new owners. You were in Minneapolis. We're able to do it. We've seen it step to the podium now. Mike, what do you expect to hear today from these guys that's maybe different?
Yeah, today we're going to find out about Russell Wilson's contract and learn more about Condoleezza Rice, Mellody Hobson.
All right, here we go. Dave Logan's going to introduce him. So once again, the new Broncos owner after 38 years of the Pat Bowlen era.
Good afternoon and welcome to the team auditorium here at the UCHealth Training Center. I'm Dave Logan, voice of the Broncos, and we would like to welcome everybody here today on what most certainly will be an historic day for the Denver Broncos franchise. On behalf of the entire organization of the Broncos, it is my pleasure to introduce and welcome the Walton-Penner family ownership group. We welcome you collectively and individually, to everybody here in attendance, and to all of Broncos country as well. I'd like to welcome members of the media, many colleagues that I see and friends that are here in attendance today, Broncos staff members that are able to pull away and come down here and join us, special guest here as well in the team auditorium. And also I'd like to welcome Broncos country, many fans here that are able to listen and or watch today's event on the Broncos digital platform, on 9 News, and also on KOA radio. To my right, I am pleased to be joined by members of the Walton-Penner family ownership group, and it's my pleasure to introduce first Rob Walton, to his right, Carrie Walton-Penner, to Carrie's right, Mellody Hobson, to Melody's right, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, and on the end is Greg Penner. I also want to recognize Sir Lewis Hamilton, who is unable to attend today. He also a member of the Walton-Penner family ownership group. So welcome to each of you today. Today begins really an exciting chapter, I think, for the Denver Broncos franchise. One of the winningest franchises, not only in the National Football League, but in all of professional sports. Many of you are eminently aware of that. 8 Super Bowl appearances, 3 World Championships, and just a tradition of community service and community outreach that is unparalleled. This organization has done a tremendous job of trying to make our community better, and they've done that on an extended basis. Last but not least, I want to shout out again to Broncos country, a dedicated, loyal, passionate, driven fan base that lives and dies with the success of this team. No question about that. They have died a little bit lately, but there are good things ahead, I would think, and there is plenty of optimism for what is ahead. Before we have each individual at the dais come up and share a few remarks, and each will come up and talk, and then Greg Penner will field questions from the media as he represents the Broncos ownership group. But before we do that, I would like to invite Joe Ellis up to share a few words.
Thank you, Dave. I was honored to be asked to say a few words as part of this historic moment and celebration for the Denver Broncos. Congratulations, Rob, Carrie, Mellody, Dr. Rice, and Greg. You're going to hear this a lot. Welcome to Broncos country. I've gotten to know the group over the past few months, and I will tell everybody here the Broncos could not be in better hands. From the start of the process back in February, their engagement, their enthusiasm and excitement for the Broncos and our community were evident. They care about winning, and they care about winning the right way. As I said in a statement yesterday, it's been an honor and a privilege to be part of this organization for 27 years. Most of those were spent working for Hall of Fame owner Pat Bowlen alongside a lot of truly great people. And quickly, I just want to give everybody in front of me here a quick shout out and thank you all in the media for your patience and tolerance over the years. I've enjoyed getting to know many of you. Looking ahead, I'm convinced that the Walton-Penner Group will be caring stewards of the Broncos, honoring the championship tradition and everything that's been done in the past. But more importantly, I believe this group will put its own stamp on the Broncos, helping this organization achieve incredible things as we move forward. And with that, it's my honor to introduce the Walton-Penner Family Ownership Group, Mr. Rob Walton.
Thank you, Joe Ellis, and thank you all for being here today. This is an exciting day, milestone day in all of our lives. Before we go any further, though, on behalf of our whole group, Carrie, Greg, Mellody, Condi, and Lewis, thank you, Joe Ellis. Thank you for your leadership, your friendship, and for your willingness to guide the Broncos' transition to the next era. We respect you. Joe, we appreciate you, and we're grateful you've agreed to serve as an advisor in this transition. It means a lot to us. We know what you meant to the Broncos and what you meant to Pat Bowlen. We know what you mean to the players, the coaches, and the staff. We know what you've done for the Broncos in these 27 years of service. There are not enough hours in the day to celebrate all your accomplishments on behalf of this team and the community. Pat Bowlen built a great legacy and a record of winning and championships. We plan to do everything we can to build on the championship tradition of this great organization. We're thrilled to be part of the Broncos. Simply put, it's an honor to steward this historic franchise. Our number one priority is putting a winning team on the field to win Super Bowls for Broncos country. It's terrific to be here with my family and our good friends and partners. We're sorry Lewis couldn't be here, but of course you understand that he's in the middle of a season. We're excited to do this with our family and our accomplished partners, and we look forward to joining all the Broncos fans in celebrating a winning season. Please meet my daughter, Carrie Walton-Penner.
Good afternoon. It is great to be here finally. It's been a little bit of a process, but it's great to be here. Every time at each step of the process, as we continued to have conversations and really got to know the organization better, got more familiar with the NFL and their process, we realized what an incredible opportunity this would be. We got more and more excited about it and just more and more enthusiastic about being here. The organization, the Denver Broncos, has an incredible history, great legacy that was started by continued by and really built by Mr. Bowlen, and we look forward to the future ahead of all of us. Across our ownership group, we support the shared vision, strategy, and needs of the organization. We'll draw on the extraordinary depth of our partners to help the Broncos succeed on the field, in the NFL, and across our community. We're new to the sports business, so this will be a great family endeavor for us, but also a significant learning opportunity. And we take that on fully and are really excited about the opportunity to learn and the challenges in terms of really getting up to speed quickly. We're committed fully to making sure that the Denver Broncos is the best team to play for, to work for, and to cheer for. I am now honored to welcome a great leader and businesswoman, Mellody Hobson.
Thank you very much, Carrie. I have to start off by saying it is such an honor and a privilege to be an owner of this remarkable organization. It is overwhelming to even think about. The moment is humbling and it's historical, and yet I feel at home. I'm very excited to be here. As someone once wrote, if you are going to exceed your wildest expectations, your wildest dreams, you have to start with some pretty wild dreams, and this is certainly in that category. It is a joy to partner with other members of this ownership group, people that I've admired for a very long time. I also want to acknowledge the bond that I feel with the players who, like me, have had to overcome a lot in their lives. And I know the amount of focus and discipline that it has taken for them to get here. I also know all of the people, the family at home, the community that they are responsible for, and that they really understand how much that community wants to see them win and how much they want to win for that community. I feel a bond with them, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of the organization, to be and to stand with them. I also want to mention Lewis Hamilton. Lewis is my chosen little brother. As soon as this opportunity came up, I started off by saying, you have to have Lewis. I've met Lewis in his rookie season as an F1 driver, and we bonded over time. As you many know, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth, and I call him Sir Little Brother as a result of that. He is the GOAT in his field, the greatest of all time, and he has this winning mentality, not just on the track, but in everything that he does. He cares deeply about people, about our planet, and as the first and only in his sport, about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I know you're going to, when you get the opportunity to meet him, love him as much as I do. Beyond that, I just want to again thank you for the opportunity you're giving me to be a part of this team. And I now have the pleasure of welcoming up another epic overachiever, Condoleezza Rice, and someone who I have admired and so many other people admire as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mellody. And like all of us, I'm so excited to be here today. I want to thank the Walton-Penner Group for this amazing opportunity. I'm just thrilled to be a part of this great Denver Broncos organization for a couple of reasons. One is that you have to understand how much I love football. My dad was a football coach when I was born. I was supposed to be his All-American linebacker. When he got a girl, he decided to teach her about the sport instead. And even though my father's gone to the Lord, I have to think that today he's thinking, she finally got a really important job. I want to say, too, that it's great to be back in Denver. I came to Denver for the first time as a 6-year-old. When my family came for my parents to go to graduate school, we returned to live here when I was 12 years old. I was taught by the Sisters of Loretta at St. Mary's Academy, on to the University of Denver twice for my undergraduate degree and my PhD. And during that period of time, everybody who lived here had to know what the Broncos mean to this community. I'm a part of the Orange Crush generation, where you'd go into any grocery store or any restaurant, and there were all of those Orange Crush cans piled up with Reuben Carter or Louis Wright peering over them. And of course, the tradition would continue with the great Stanford man, John Elway, and Peyton Manning and others. This is a great tradition, a great heritage of winning. But the goal now is to build on that heritage and that tradition, to continue it in a way that makes for a bright future. And I just know that the Walton-Penner Group is dedicated to that exactly. And as Mellody said, we're also dedicated to this community, to this wonderful place called Denver, Colorado. And I have to say, a lot of places around Denver that love the Broncos. Because, you know, in days when communities are ripped apart by so much, the football team, like the Broncos, can be a source of unity, a source of common purpose, a source of common pride. And I very much look forward to being a part again of this great Denver community and all that the Broncos mean to it. Thank you very much. I'm supposed to introduce Rob again. Rob, would you join me?
I'm back again. I am pleased to come back to the stage here and share a little bit more information with you. Greg Penner will be the new CEO of the Broncos. He's going to get to work immediately and bring the skills, talent, and record of success with him. We all appreciate his willingness to serve in this role. So come on up here, Greg, and tell us.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you to all of you for those great comments. That was just inspiring. It's great to be here with all of you today. We could not be more excited to officially take ownership of the Broncos, and we also feel a deep sense of responsibility and privilege to be in this position. The Broncos are an iconic franchise that means so much to Denver, Colorado, and the whole region. Following in the footsteps of Pat Bowlen and Joe Ellis is no small feat. Their leadership has meant success on the field, impact in the community, and of course, Super Bowl championships. Joe, I'm really glad that you're going to be available to us as an advisor. We're going to rely on you and call on you, and it's going to be very helpful to us. I'm also looking forward to working with George Peyton, one of the sharpest GMs in the business, and he's got a terrific vision for the franchise here. And of course, Nathaniel Hackett, Coach Hackett is here as well, a dynamic, up-and-coming head coach. These pieces that we've got in place have just brought an incredible energy to the building, and we can't wait to get started. Our Broncos fans have high expectations. We know that, and we embrace it. We believe that a winning team and organization require the right people, high expectations, the necessary resources, and then accountability. We're committed to that, and we're going to draw on this diverse ownership group to succeed. As Carrie said, we're new to the sports business, and we know we have a lot to learn. We're going to be looking forward in the coming months to working with the staff, our players, the community, leadership across the NFL to get to know as much as we can about this fantastic organization and then move forward from there. This has been a really exciting few months for us, but not nearly as exciting as getting back to Denver last night. Spending the time with our players and staff this morning. We had everybody together in the field house, and we just can't wait to get going and kick off a winning season. So with that, I want to thank you all, and what we're going to do now, as Patrick mentioned, is break for a couple minutes and take a few photos, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Well, as they get ready to take some photographs, we have learned a bit. I think most significant as far as the operation of the team, what many had expected is that Greg Penner is really going to be the man in charge. Rob Walton introducing Greg Penner, his son-in-law, as the CEO. He will be the man who generally calls the shots. Of course, you can see that they have a powerful fivesome, the missing sixth. Sir Little Brother.
I love that, what Mellody Hobson described, that relationship. They're very tight.
They'll obviously all be involved, and certainly they seem to be saying that they're new to the sports business. So I think they will also be very deferential and interested in what George Peyton has to say, what Joe Ellis has to say, and what Nathaniel Hackett says he needs.
It's interesting how they talk so much about Pat Bowlen, of course, and John Elway, what they established, but the expectations of the fans here and what they want to get back to, and talking about how important it is to really bring a product, a great winning product to the fans.
And the one member of this fivesome who really understands that Broncos country vibe was Dr. Condoleezza Rice, talking about growing up here, going to St. Mary's, going to DU, and understanding what the Orange Crush was like back in the day. And when the fan base really took off for the Broncos in the late 1970s, even name-checking Reuben Carter, the great nose tackle, and Louis Wright, the great cornerback. So as they move over and Greg Penner gets ready to field some questions, we'll head back out to the field house and listen to some of these questions. We expect to be talking about things like maybe a new stadium down the road, an extension for Russell Wilson, and how this team will operate.
Two-part question. Do you plan on hiring a president to help you with the day-to-day? And I'll follow up.
Yes, I do plan to hire a president, and when we're ready to announce that, we will do that.
Secondly, Peyton Manning and John Elway, have you had discussions with them about joining your group or just working for the franchise?
You know, we're in a terrific position of having two great Broncos that they were both out here today, and it's been fantastic to spend some time with them. You know, John Elway is the ultimate Bronco. He won championships as both a player and an executive. Have had a chance to visit with him and look forward to learning as much from him as possible. And Peyton is one of the greatest NFL players of all time, and obviously won a championship here. We've had a chance to get to know him through the process as well. And so that's you know, we're just going to learn from both of them. It's going to be, I think, a really good relationship.
Yes, Mike Liss with 9 News. Greg, I was wondering if you could just give us some detail on how the chain of command is going to, obviously you're the CEO, but what's Rob's role? What is Condoleezza, Mellody's role? And, you know, what kind of input are they going to have?
Yeah, thank you for that. Everybody's going to be involved. Obviously, with 6 of us, somebody has to be on point, so I'll take that role. So you'll be seeing probably most from me here, but as you heard from, I mean, it's just an incredible group, and we're gonna draw on all of them as we go through this. Rob and Carrie will probably they'll be here obviously a lot with me as well on you know, dealing with any big issues or questions or strategic decisions that we're making, and then most of all, we're just really looking forward to all having fun together with this. You know, obviously this is a business, but this is a sports, you know, franchise, and we want to win, and that's our goal. And part of that is having a lot of fun as a family and with this group while we do that.
Hey, Greg, Arnie Stapleton from Associated Press. I think fans are probably most concerned with Russ Wilson's future, and I was wondering, you know, is that a top of your to-do list, getting a long-term contract done with him, and when would that commence?
Well, first of all, we couldn't have been more excited as we were going through the process to see that the organization had made the trade for Russell. You know, it's critical to have a great quarterback in this league, and so to come in with Russell Wilson in place is a tremendous benefit for us. On our first diligence trip in May here, one of the first people we ran into in the hallway when Rob and Carrie and I were here was Russell. And right away, you got a sense for how positive he is as a leader. He's just such a dynamic individual. And so I can't wait to see him on the field. You know, I don't know how much we'll see of him on the field on Saturday, but we're looking forward to it. And at this point, nothing to say about his contract.
Hey, Greg, Eric Delisle at DenverBroncos.com. In particular, what stood out about Mellody, Dr. Rice, and Lewis that appealed to you to add them to the ownership group?
A few things. I mean, one, we wanted to add people that brought different perspectives and experiences, and certainly we have that here. Lewis being the winningest, the GOAT of race car Formula One driving. Dr. Rice with all of her experience in politics and academics and world affairs. Mellody as a incredible businesswoman and her track record there. And we're big believers in bringing together different perspectives and experiences and backgrounds, and that we think will make us more successful.
George Stoya with the Denver Gazette. Yesterday, Greg, you said 10 years ago that this was an idea that maybe popped into your head. Can you take us back to that moment, and why did it become this was the right time and right team for you to go in on? Because there's been teams in the past, come up for sale. Why this time?
Yeah, there have been teams, and we did first start thinking about this about 10 years ago, and informally expressed that interest to the league and others, and at the time there was obviously nothing to do. We've contemplated the idea of other sports franchises, but if we were going to do something, this was going to be it. I mean, we live and work in Colorado. The NFL is just an incredible platform. And the Broncos, with what they mean to this region and the success that they've had, if we were going to buy any team, this was the team.
Mr. Penner, the players said that you spoke to them today in the meeting and articulated a vision. Can you share with us a little bit of that was expressed to the players as you move forward with that vision?
I mean, the vision, the big vision is we want to win football championships. We want to do it in the right way, and so that's the first place that you got to start is with the people. And again, on the football side, we couldn't be more excited about what we have with George, Nathaniel, Russell in place. Those are the first pieces. But then it's a process that I mentioned, which is now you have the people. Now you've got to have really high expectations of ourselves. We got to make sure we have the resources, and that comes in a number of different ways to support them. And then we have to hold ourselves accountable. And that's where it gets sometimes that gets a little tricky because you lose one game. That doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden make a bunch of short-term rash decisions. So there's an appropriate amount of patience, but we will hold ourselves accountable.
Greg, Jeff Legwold from ESPN. Each of you have said in some way that you're new to the sports business. How do you sort of educate yourself in the months ahead, and then how do you sort of remind yourself that football is the priority in this type of endeavor?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever lose sight of that football is the number one priority, that this is all here to compete and win. But in terms of the priorities, you said it. The way you learn is by talking to as many people as we can, and that's both internal and the community and across the league. So, the good thing is the other owners have welcomed us with open arms. We know some of them. We have prior relationships with a number of them, and they've been very open with us in terms of sharing advice and counsel and all that. I mentioned we've had former players who are involved and are will share their guidance with us as well. But we have business experience, and we'll obviously draw on that. But this is new, and so for us, it's a process of listening and learning.
Greg, Darren McKee, 104.3 The Fan. Philosophically, I know you were asked about the stadium yesterday, and you said, "Oh, it's down the road." But philosophically, there's different ways to do it. The Rams had private funding. The Bills are taking public funding. I'm curious, philosophically, what do you think the responsibility is for ownership in terms of new developments, stadiums, facilities, that type of thing?
Yeah, we really don't have a view on that yet. It is early. We just closed today, so part of your question was assuming we were going to build a new stadium, and at this point, Empower Field at Mile High is a terrific facility. It's hosted world-class sporting and entertainment events. We've got a partnership with the stadium district, and with 10 years left on our lease, we've got some time to go out and see what the different options are, consider everything, and then make a decision.
Hey, Greg, Michael Spencer from CBS Colorado. Do you anticipate adding any more partners to the ownership group, and then have a follow-up on that?
At this point, we don't have anything to add or share on that. No immediate plans.
For you personally, what does it mean to be a part of the historic nature, adding Dr. Rice and Mellody as the first black female owners in the NFL?
To me, actually, it's a blessing to have partners like this. Their willingness to join us in this endeavor is a huge blessing, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Mr. Penner, Zach Stevens with DNVR. Congratulations first off. And how involved will you and the ownership group be in the football decisions that happen, whether that's a day-to-day basis or a month-to-month basis?
Yeah, we're big believers. Every onder, I think, has to stake out their own territory here. We're big believers in empowering people. We love football. As Condi said, her dad was a coach. She knows football, but we're not going to be calling plays. We're not going to be drafting players. We're going to empower this team, led by George Peyton and Nathaniel Hackett, to make those key decisions. Obviously, part of the fun is learning and understanding and all that, but we're not going to be. They're going to make the football decisions.
Greg, Woody Page from the Denver Gazette and ESPN. I've watched a lot of your talks to colleges. You've talked about the commitment you make to the businesses you're involved with. You're the chairman of the board of Walmart. You are a co-founder and a co-general partner of an investment firm in California. Your predecessor and Pat Boland also had a number of different jobs. He quit them all and became a full-time football man. Do you intend to do that? Do you intend to spread yourself around? In one of your speeches, you talk about going to Arkansas once a week, I think, to meet with people from Walmart. Are you going to be as fully involved as Pat Bowlen was? And are you planning to have a board of directors like you do with Walmart with the other ownership group members?
We're not planning to have a board of directors. I'd probably consider this to be our informal board, but it's not a formal group. I can't speak to how involved Mr. Bowlen was or not. I can tell you that for me as chairman of Walmart, we've got it's not a full-time job. It is I think, an important job and one that takes a lot of thought and energy. But Doug McMillan, our CEO, is just fantastic, and he and his team run the business on a day-to-day basis. And so I do have the necessary time to spend here. And this is a very high priority for us, and I'll give it the energy and the time that it needs. Again, we're all about empowering people, and having the right people in place for us here will be an important part of the equation.
Andrew Mason, DenverFan.com and 104.3 The Fan. A couple of questions. First of all, what are the characteristics that you seek in a team president, and does sports experience matter in that?
I think sports experience is really important. Is it absolutely essential? I'd say probably no, but it would make the bar higher to find the right person. We start with general characteristics of, we want somebody that really high integrity, great values, great leadership, diverse set of experiences, someone that aligns with our values as partners here, and we think we can find somebody great.
Second of all, you guys have talked about winning the right way. For you, what does that entail exactly?
I think we have to start with winning the right way starts with values, and so it goes from everything from how our culture is. We want this, as Carrie said, we want this to be a great place to work. We want our players to come here and feel like they're supported. This is a great place to play, grow as individuals. Those types of characteristics are really important to us, and so that's where we start from.
Rod Mackey, 9 News. Mr. Penner, we've used this a lot of times when rookies get introduced, coaches get introduced, and they talk about, this is something they work for, they dream for, but there's that reality moment when perhaps yesterday with the unanimous vote, perhaps when you touched down to Denver, perhaps walking out and seeing the team practice today. Was there that emotional moment with you ever saying, this is ours now, the Denver Broncos are ours?
Probably sitting here on the stage and listening to Rob, Carrie, Mellody, and Condi is when it really sunk in. But yesterday was pretty impactful as well. Walking into the NFL owners meeting, there's a fair number of people in that room, and having their warm response to us was certainly impactful as well.
Well, that is going to conclude the questions and answers for now. Certainly, this is just the very first step in this new era, but we did learn a bit today about this new ownership group. We also learned a little bit about how they will operate, but when you think of the history of this franchise, there have fundamentally been 4 people or 4 groups that have owned this team. The Phipps brothers, Jerry and Alan, owned them at the outset, along with other minor groups as well. Edgar Kaiser then had them for a while before selling to Pat Bowlen. And now 38 years after Pat Bowlen owned the team, we see the Walton-Penner group, and for the first time really see them there at Dove Valley speaking and addressing their plans for the team, which I get the feeling they don't have firm plans yet. They all said they're very new to the sports business.
Right, they acknowledge that, and the fact they're going to lean on Joe Ellis, at least for the next year, and John Elway for that matter. But the fact they need to name a president, they're still thinking about that. They're not they're really keeping everything close to the vest. And also regarding Russell Wilson's contract and things, but it sounds like they're really open to learning this business. I mean, this is something they thought about 10 years ago, but now they know it's here and we got to do it the right way.
Well, they've had months to start thinking about this,
Right.
and certainly they have things in motion they're not ready to share yet. But when you talk about a team president, it is clear they didn't want to go anywhere down that road at all.
Didn't.
However, they weren't all that comfortable answering questions about the future of either John Elway or Peyton Manning, while paying respect to both men. Either of those men could be in that position. You'd have to wonder, though, with John Elway leaving the organization for all intents and purposes lately, if instead it is more of a position that Peyton Manning might be interested in. Peyton has so many external things that he's doing right now. It may be more than he wants to take on. But we just saw Rod Mackey talking down there at the press conference. He's along with Ariel Arsuto now to get their feedback on about 30 minutes. That's what we got to hear from the Walton-Penner group, Rod.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. There was a lot of things which you guys just discussed. Questions asked, not answered. John Elway, Peyton Manning, will you bring in different people? Is there going to be another new owner at some point down the road? I think there was a lot of that. The thing that stood out for me was we heard from three of those people yesterday. We heard from Rob Walton, we heard from Greg Penner, and we heard from Carrie Walton-Penner. We hadn't heard from Condoleezza Rice. We hadn't heard from Mellody Hobson. Those two, to me, truly stood out today because those two, I think you really felt the emotion, the excitement, especially with Condoleezza Rice being a Colorado person, and now she's here, and you could just see that excitement come through.
What's interesting about Condoleezza Rice is that we've known she's been a football person for years. Back in the early 2010s, she was on the College Football Playoff Committee. We knew all about her football background, about her dad being a coach back then. But today, it really sunk in because I don't know if you knew about her background of knowing about the Orange Crush and all of that. And that's when you know that it's real. It's not fake. It really, really sounded genuine. And I have to say that when Mellody Hobson really sunk in with me as well, because it's the way she talked about the players and how she said that I understand where they come from. We have a similar background. We have similar experiences. And let me tell you, that will matter to them.
And it did matter because before this, the Broncos finished up day 12 of training camp. First, we heard from Coach Hackett, we heard from Garrett Bowles, and we heard from Justin Simmons. He was the last one to talk. First of all, he talked about, much like the Five did here today, about what a tremendous honor it was to play for Mr. B, for Pat Bowen, and Joe Ellis. But then he talked about this new ownership group, how it's the next step, how excited he was, but he talked about how Condoleezza Rice and Mellody Hobson really inspire him. They came and spoke to them this morning, as you heard in this press conference, and their words rung true with Justin, and I'm sure with many other players. You can see a different energy level from these guys. They've known the new owners are coming for a long time, but to have boots on the ground, to have them actually here, it was really neat to see their reaction this afternoon.
Well, and Rod, let me just tell you, yesterday I actually had the privilege of joining the Broncos DE&I consortium, and that is a first for the NFL. Now, the Broncos named last year, they named China Jude the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. That was the first time ever for this whole organization. So they're making really genuine steps to show that they actually care. And this is something that matters to the players. It matters to people in the community. And it really hits home to people like that.
Last thing before we throw back to you, I just want to mention yesterday we talked to several of the players about the excitement of having a new owner. Josh Johnson, who's the backup quarterback, been around forever, played for, I believe, 11 different owners at one point. He said the important thing for him is to have an owner who comes in, kind of takes a role, gets involved. But I thought it was very interesting listening to what Greg Penner said today. He said it's important to them to empower people. They said football is new to them. They're going to have people in place that know what they're doing and kind of rely on them to get the job done, learn what they can, and then make their moves. Guys, we're getting ready to go here, so we'll send it back to you for now.
All right, Rod, Ariel, thanks very much. I got the feeling from watching especially Greg Penner speak, but as well as Rob Walton and everyone who spoke today, that this will not be an ownership group that is pushing its way to the microphone like a Jerry Jones down in Dallas. I think they will be very low-key, try to be uber efficient. So I would say in order, the next things you'll probably see from this ownership group as they take control, will be an extension for Russell Wilson is probably the first thing that they will be able to execute because that's probably already pretty much on the table and understood between George Peyton and Russell's agent. So now that'll be something they'll get to do. Then it'll really be about that president role and who that person is and what that job is like. How active will that person be? That person has to be a very unique fit, not only bringing a lot of football knowledge to the table, but fitting with that ownership group and fitting with George Peyton. That'll be the person who has to work between them. I think the stadium issue is down the line. I don't think they're going to bring that up till
that's a ways away.
That may be a little off.
I loved what Ariel said when she talked about Justin Simmons' response, because if you hear Mellody Hobson talk, she often speaks about her mother and that she was a single mom with 6 children, but she never told her children there wasn't anything they couldn't do. And I love that the Penners and the Waltons they're talking about the fact this is a business too. These are employees, are these players, are these coaches. We need to connect with them.
Key things we heard today, Carrie Walton-Penner says we want the Bronco team to be the best team to play for, work for, and cheer for. And then several members talked about being new to the sports business, and they say they have a lot to learn. $4.65 billion gives you the chance to start learning about the Denver Broncos. An interesting press conference today. Of course, we're going to have much more about this coming up when we join you for 4 o'clock at 9 News. Right now, we're going to turn you back to regular programming. We'll see you later this afternoon.
I thought it was going to be much longer.
I did.
He was tight. He didn't want to give a lot. I'm with you. He's smart. He's not. I don't think that stadium thing, that's a long